Hello everyone, today I'm doing a video on why I believe polls overestimate Democrats most of the time. I'm going to use 2016. I'm probably going to get the 2018 map out. I'm just going to looking at what the polls had in 2016 and 2018, because, people will say, okay, yeah, the pollsters have adjusted since 2016, or they'll even say the pollsters didn't get it wrong, they're all in the margin of error. And that's not even entirely true. So, I'm just saying this as a matter of fact. Um, Based on how the results were in the 2016 and some of the 2018 election as well. So if we take a look, in Florida, Trump's up like 0.2. He wins by 1 point. It's in the margin of error, obviously, but Trump did overperform out of the polls. And then if you look, okay, now we're going to look into even more stuff. North Carolina, Trump plus one, won by 3.7. Another one where he's overestimated, and these are a lot of the toss-up states because I'm not going to look at like Kansas as a poll. If you look at Ohio, up by 3.5, won by a point. That's not even in the margin of error. He won by 4.6 more points than was predicted. And even just a few weeks before the election, it was nowhere in this game. I mean, there was some tie. There's a lot of ties, and then there's some ones with Trump up 5-4. So he was overestimating Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida so far. I mean, look in Virginia, Hillary Clinton was pretty much on the ball, 5.4. I really consider, I guess, 1.5, 1 point an overestimate. Less than a point. I mean, I guess you could consider that within some sort of margin because you can't do that. I mean, it's just a lot harder. Okay, so we can look at Pennsylvania. Clinton up 1.9, Trump won by 0.7. So another one where Clinton was overestimated. These are all the toss-up states, and then I can go through the ones in 2018 as well. Let's look at Michigan. Obviously, again, Clinton up 3.4, Trump won by 3. I guess that you would consider that above the margin of error. You consider that 3. Wisconsin was the worst, obviously. Everyone admits that. Completely wrong, but you can tell that because this was the poll average. This was the result. Minnesota. I can go through all of these states. Clinton won by 1.5 most of the polls, anywhere from 6 to 10 points. So that was off as well. I can look at Georgia. I'll pretty much look at all of them. Trump, I guess, was 0.3. I don't really consider, like I said. Colorado, I think that was pretty close as well. Clinton was actually underestimated in Colorado. So I guess there are a few where Clinton was underestimated. I guess my overall point is most of the polls. She did win by 4.9 rather than 2.9 points. New Mexico, that's not I don't, let's take a look at the toss-up. I don't even really consider that. Let's see. Okay, so Clinton was, see, I'm telling you, this area of the map is real. It's like really underestimates the Democrats, which always happens, which is really surprising. This one, Trump was obviously overestimated, and in Nevada, I'm pretty sure Trump was like underestimated as well. Yeah. So with these, I consider it's like the 4 states, excluding Utah, 1, 2, 3, 4. These pollsters over here seem to actually overestimate Republicans, and you can look at the reflection in the 2020 2018 Senate map. I don't really look at the governor maps, but you can. And then the East Coast and the Rust Belt tend to underestimate the Republicans. So obviously more states underestimate Republicans, but these 4 are really weird in a sense. And that's, I guess, what you can look at with this RCP map. And then if you look at the 2018 RCP map, you can just search it up like that. It'll get you there. Okay, so yeah, Republicans had an advantage in 2018. Republicans were underestimated on the East Coast and overestimated over here. So, this is why I wouldn't take the polls for granted, because a lot of the time one party seems to be overmessed, like they kind of get it backwards. So yeah, in Florida, Nelson was up. Scott won by 0.2. Obviously, they had the recount, and Scott was declared winner after all of that chaos. Tennessee, I would consider this the East Coast. I guess you could consider it getting into the middle. Complete underestimate. I mean, she was up 5.2, won by 10.8. And you can look at the same thing in Missouri. Holly won by 5.4. I mean, won by increased the margin of error to 5.4 with that. Donnelly, another bad polling. I mean, he was up. Braun won by 5.9. You can just look at these statistics on your own. Even West Virginia, Manchin was overestimated. So the East Coast always tends to overestimate these Democrats. And when you look over here, I'm not even looking to Mexico, just these two, I guess, right now. It was tied. Completely overestimating the Republicans. Jackie Rose won by 5 points. Dean Heller, widely unpopular incumbent, and he lost. And I mean, it looked like Dean Heller was polling well. If you look at the history, looks like more polls of him up. I guess it's about tied, but she did win by 5 points, and the spread at the end was a tie. And in Arizona, same issue. McSally, +1. Sinema wins by 2.3. That area does seem to overestimate Republicans. It's really weird, including Texas. I guess you can include Texas in this as well. Cruz +6.8, won by 2.6. I'm not sure about Trump with Texas. It did overestimate Trump again. So I would say this I'm losing my head right now. The Southwest, yeah, seems to overrate Republicans, and the East Coast, Northeast and Southeast, seem to underestimate Republicans or overestimate Democrats, however way you want to phrase it. And we can look at governor maps. I'm not going to look at the House map. That's really too much. Let's take a look at Nevada. The governor's a bit different because, and you can tell, I mean, overestimated as well with Nevada in the Southwest. But the governor's, it's a completely different game. Like you can see Massachusetts and Vermont have Republican governors. Obviously, Louisiana has a Democrat governor, and North Carolina has a Democrat governor. I guess that could be considered in the middle. Oregon's a toss-up. So and Maryland's Republican, so it is a lot harder to compare. But we can look at Arizona, and he was still overestimated, even though he won by 14 points. You can just tell not to take these polls for granted, which is why, when I have my prediction, I have Joe Biden winning Arizona, and most of the time winning these states over here. No matter what happens, no matter what the polls say, the polls still have Joe Biden up. But I'm just saying, I still have him winning. Texas, I have it a lot closer than what most people would expect it to be, because the polls do seem to overestimate the Republicans in Texas. And in the East Coast, I had Trump doing better and Biden doing worse. I mean, Obama won North Carolina by 0.9 points in 2008. That was his landslide election year, so it does overestimate. And Florida, I mean, I don't even think he won. He won Florida by about 2.8 points. So in a landslide election, you would expect Obama to win by 5-6 points. In Florida, he didn't even do that. He was overestimated there as well. In Ohio, Republican definitely underestimated. It's just what happens. I don't know. Just what happens, I guess, is all you can say. And this is why when you're looking at this was, I mean, let's see. I would say this kind of overestimated the Democrat, even though the Democrat did win 8-5-2. There was just a few ties and one with Scott Walker up. But what I urge you to do when looking at the polls and analyzing and making an educated decision or an educated thought process on how you think these states are going to go, just remember how the polls have done in the past. And you can say, oh, well, they adjusted since 2016. Not really. I mean, they were still off in the Senate and in the governor race, and they still overestimated in the same areas. So I'm not entirely sure what factors influence this. Maybe it's where they're polling. Who knows? Some people say Republicans are scared to tell who they support. I'm not sure if that's entirely true, but there could be a lot of reasons why this is happening, and they still possibly couldn't have gotten to the bottom of this. So while I obviously am going to look at the polls, and I'm obviously going to, I mean, it's the only concrete evidence we have right now to make our decisions on. I would just say keep in mind that in the past, in at least the last two election cycles, polls have overestimated Democrats in the East Coast and kind of middle or Rust Belt area, middle America, and in the Southwest, overestimated Republicans. So that's just to keep in mind. And it could definitely happen in 2020. If it doesn't happen in 2020, then that means pollsters did something right this election. However, based on obviously our history and the trends in these states and how the polls reflected after the election, you can definitely make an informed and educated decision that you should take the polls a bit skeptically and do your best to remember that they tend to would overestimate a specific party in this specific type of the country, this area of the country. That's just something to keep in mind. And I mean, that's just the truth. It definitely is very hard to poll. And, even the A-plus pollsters still get the polls wrong in some of these states. So just keep that in mind. Overestimating Democrats and Republicans both. And, that's just something to keep in mind. And I'm just making this video to tell you that the polls should not make up every part of your prediction, because the polls are just one factor that you should look at. You should look at, charisma, history, how they've done in the past, endorsements, and, a whole list of things. You can obviously look at the polls, but keep in mind that, first of all, they're not the most reliable, clearly based on how we've seen in the past, and that there's so many other factors that influence or that can help you predict who will win in each state. I mean, that's the video that I have for today. It's just kind of like a discussion talking about the polls in each state. Pretty chill. I'm probably going to come out with a Senate prediction in a few days. Maybe talking about more about Joe Biden's VP as that decision narrows up. Maybe I'll do a governor prediction. I don't know. I don't know what's in the future. I do want to do some 2024 election predictions. I might do that after the 2020 election so we can get our minds off that and onto 2022, 2024, preferably 2024. Because I think that's going to be really interesting. But 2020 is coming up. You know how quickly politics goes through in this election cycle. Thank you for watching. This is just a video to, make you at least question some of the polls and even, make informed decisions without just completely looking at the polls. However, they are important. I completely don't deny that. Anyway, this is my video for today. Thank you for watching, and subscribe. Please tell me if you disagree of my analysis of the polls in the comments, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you all for watching. Have a nice day.